Hi there, my name is Julian Penabella and I'm a proud member of the Varela FFA chapter located all the way down south in Miami, Florida. Now, coming from such an urban area, finding large-scale agricultural operations, especially large-scale livestock production operations, is pretty much slim to none. That's why through my small-scale participation in my FFA projects, I have really taken on an agriculturalist perspective in a not-so-agriculturally inclined society. Now, this has really allowed me to see the lack of agriculture literacy that there is in urban areas. You know, there is a very large disconnect between people and understanding where their food comes from. That's why I like to take opportunities such as these to go ahead and come on here and really advocate for our industry and kind of open the eyes of those that lack the knowledge of where their food comes from and really let them kind of in on the processes and the information that's there for them to really know where their food comes from and what factors go into, the production of the meat that they are consuming on a regular basis. So I am coming on here today to just give a little spiel about the different cuts of beef and where they can be found on the animal, as well as different cooking methods that is recommended for different cuts of beef and why. I will also talk about the difference between quality grade and yield grade and why they are so important in today's society, as well as the importance of BQA certification and why, as youth exhibitors, we should really take the time to become certified in BQA just to kind of become those advocates that are really necessary nowadays with all the vilification of agriculturalists that's going on by various organizations on social media. So I think it's our job as a youth and the next generation of agricultural producers to go on here and really talk about what we do and kind of put to rest all the misconceptions that are out there about our industries. And hopefully you all enjoy the little video I put together for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So now we're going to go ahead and hop into the different retail cuts of beef and go over some information about that. Now, primarily, once you get into retail cuts, there are 8 primal cuts of beef, and that includes a chuck, rib, loin, round, flank, short plate, brisket, and shank. I went ahead and added in a graphic of an actual calf, so it would be a little bit better and more obvious to know what areas I'm talking about when it comes to primal cuts of beef and where it can be found on the actual animal. After the primal cuts of beef, then it gets divided into subprimal cuts, and that's pretty much all the cuts you find at your local grocery store. And pretty much the more expensive steaks are cut from the center of the calf, which is found in the loin or rib section. You can refer back to the graphic that's on the screen. Primarily, beef gets more tender as the distance from the horn and hoof increases. So throughout the life of a market calf, the legs and neck muscles do most of the work. This causes these muscles to be a lot firmer than those around it, making these areas the toughest. Because the rib and loin is further away from these areas, they are considered to be more expensive. I went ahead and took the time to include some examples of some more commonly known cuts of beef, for example the T-bone steak, as well as the ribeye steak. So when talking about dry versus moist heat and what is the best cooking method for you and what steak you're working with, dry heat methods include roasting, broiling, and grilling, while moist heat methods include braising, steaming, and poaching. These are just a few examples, but there are a few more. However, the method you choose to use is all based upon the toughness of the cut of steak you are working with and how long that piece of meat has to be exposed to the heat in order to reach a palatable texture. Alrighty, now that we've gone over different retail cuts of beef, we're going to go ahead and jump into quality and yield grade and talk about the different factors that go into grading our meat and how we calculate our yield grade. When getting into the idea of beef grading, a lot of people lack the knowledge on why we do it. It was created as standards for grades of carcass beef that was established to facilitate beef marketing by separating a highly variable population of live cattle and, of course, beef carcasses into groups which are more uniform in quality and composition, making it easier to pick and choose what kind of quality meat we would like to consume. So when we talk about quality grade, we are referring to the eating characteristics of the cooked meat, the tenderness, the juiciness, and the flavor of that said piece of steak. There are 8 USDA quality grades, but really only 4 are consistently being used. They include the USDA Prime, USDA Choice, USDA Select, and USDA Standard. Animal maturity is a really large factor in grading meat. The age of the animal is a direct correlation on the tenderness of the meat produced. As cattle mature, their meat becomes tougher. We use the A, B, C, D, and E categories to categorize each animal's age. We then like to focus on the beef carcass maturity. This is taken into consideration after the animals have been slaughtered. It includes the size, shape, and ossification of the bone, specifically the vertebrae bone. It also includes the color and texture of the ribeye muscle, which is located between the 12th and 13th rib in the carcass. Marbling is again a very large factor in grading beef. It includes the amount and distribution of intramuscular fat within the piece of meat. The ribeye is the primary determinant of the USDA quality grade. Beef cuts with high levels of marbling are more likely to be tender, juicier, and more flavorful. I went ahead and inserted this graphic so you can better see the different levels of marbling a carcass can have. They include moderately abundant, slightly abundant, moderate, modest, small, and slight. The marbling on a carcass is primarily what gives it its quality grade. Now, when talking about the USDA beef grading chart, we've already spoken about the prime, choice, select, and standard categories where a carcass can fall under. However, the other four are commercial, utility, cutter, and canner. The USDA uses the ribeye's marbling score in addition to the carcass maturity to figure out where each carcass will fall under. Now, primarily younger animals, A and B, will become prime, choice, select, and standard categories, while older animals, C, D, and E, will fall under commercial, utility, cutter, and canner. Now, when we're talking about yield grades, we're talking about the estimate beef carcass cuttability. This means we're talking about the combined yield of closely trimmed boneless retail cuts from the round, rib, and chuck. Primarily, there are 5 yield grades. They include the USDA Yield Grade 1 through USDA Yield Grade 5. The lower the grade, the higher the yield of meat off a carcass. Yield grade is determined by the following: external fat thickness over the ribeye area, and the estimated kidney, pelvic, and heart fat percentage, or better known as KPH percentage. Now, when we're trying to determine yield grade, we like to look at the fat thickness over the ribeye. It's measured at 0.3/4 of the distance from the length of the ribeye from its chine bone side. You can go ahead and refer to the graphic right there on the screen. Now, in addition to the fat thickness over the ribeye, we also like to take into consideration the ribeye area. Now, the ribeye area normally ranges from about 9 to 17 square inches. You can go ahead and refer to the graphic on the screen and even try your luck at trying to measure the ribeye area for yourself. Now we're just going to discuss the importance of beef quality assurance and what it entails. A certification in beef quality assurance, a nationally coordinated and state-implemented program that provides producers with knowledge pertaining to the husbandry, proper medicinal administration, and optimal management techniques of beef cattle. This knowledge is something that a youth exhibitor should be required to possess in order to properly and accurately advocate for the quality care that goes into the production of our nation's beef. The BQA principles are based on good management practices that are standard operating procedures designed to meet the United States food production system's needs. BQA programming focuses on educating and training cattle producers, farm advisors, and veterinarians on the issues in cattle food safety and quality. It also provides tools for verifying and documenting animal husbandry practices. This is why, when I first heard about BQA, it really piqued my interest and piqued the interest of both my parents. So I went ahead and visited the website and got started on our certification process for BQA. And it's pretty much compiled of various videos that you go through, and there's a large range of different aspects of the actual beef production industry that you can get certified in. I went ahead and got certified in the cow-calf operation, and it really helped me understand the care and the processes that are really used in ensuring quality beef. And with all that being said, that pretty much concludes my little video. So I thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you